Hey guys, I'm Missy on the Rob Bellarmine team, and I thought that it would be fun to do an educational new construction video series here, so that way you can learn everything from, what you should be doing to get started before you build a house to all the way through the construction process, and then at the very end, what you should expect right before you go to move into your new house. So I hope that you'll watch every week and learn a little bit. And if you guys have any feedback for me, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message or drop a comment below, and I'd be more than happy to answer those questions as we go along. So the first one today is about getting started. So everyone always comes in and they want to right away start looking at floor plans and lots and communities and all this stuff, when in reality, we need to first start off with a budget. So in order to figure out what your budget is, I always tell folks to go talk to a lender, because once you figure out what your payment is and what you feel like you're comfortable paying every month, then that's going to help us determine your budget. Now, also on the financing piece is your down payment. So depending on which loan program you guys go with, outside of just paying cash for the house, will determine how much money you're going to be needing to put down. So in new construction, there's a couple of different product lines that you typically wouldn't find, like if you were buying a resale or used house. So you can use, of course, the normal ones, VA, FHA, conventional, which, on VA, you're not actually having to put anything down. So that's 0% down. Now, most builders require you to have some sort of deposit when you're building a house, or even when you go to just buy a finished inventory house. So the thing to remember there on a VA loan is you'll get all of that deposit back when you close on the house. So let's say you put down $10,000 up front to secure the home. Well, when you guys get to the closing table, you'll actually see a credit on your settlement statement that shows you're getting that credit back from the seller. So that'll just be a check back to you guys, which is pretty nice. And then on FHA, that's 3.5% down. So if your builder, for instance, required you to put 5% down, well, you guys would be getting that difference back at closing, the 1.5%. So again, you're not having to put down the 5% necessarily. And then of course, there's the normal conventional, which those are usually 5 to 20% down that you're required to put down. The one that is not typical is a construction to perm loan. So I did want to hit on this a little bit because I think with interest rates kind of all over the board right now, this could be an interesting product for some people. So you actually close on your permanent 30-year mortgage up front before they ever start construction on your house. So what does that look like? So basically, your builder would put a cost together. So you could either do fixed cost, you could do cost plus, you can do a fee loan, where basically the builder will figure out how much it's going to cost to build your house. And then you would actually be carrying the construction loan versus the builder. So a lot of times they'll give you credit for whatever they would have paid on the construction loan if they were carrying it. So that's a benefit. And then also the benefit is usually within the first 60 days of going to contract with the builder, you're actually closing on your 30-year mortgage. So you won't have to worry about at the end, like how much, what is the interest rate going to be if you haven't locked your rate. It eliminates all of those things. Again, if that's a product you're interested in, I would definitely reach out to lenders who do it. I know 2 locally that do it. One requires 20% down and the other one requires 10% down. The other piece of it too, think about is how are you getting your deposit for upfront when you go to build? So if the builder requires 5% down, for instance, how are you getting that 5%? A lot of people think they have to have that cash in the bank, and they don't necessarily. So that's something to think about, because we can always pull the equity from your house that you're currently living in to go ahead and put that towards the new construction build. And if you do that, there's a couple of different products that lenders offer for that program. We even have some that do the construction of perm where they actually pull the equity out of your house and then they can apply that towards the 20% they need for the construction of perm. So again, lots of financing options. If you don't necessarily have the earnest money up front, I would suggest talking to your lender to see what options you have there, because there are options out there. So keep that in the back of your mind. You can use the equity on your current house before you sell it to apply towards the new one. So keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing to think about are areas that you're wanting to live in. So, you're going to want to go out there and do your homework first. So you want to know school districts, are you close to highways? Are you, is it good for your drive to work? Drive it a couple of times. The other reason I bring up area is because that's going to determine your tax rate. So when you're looking at your budget and you're looking at your payments, depending on where you buy your house or where you build will determine on your tax rate. So that's why I always tell people kind of start narrowing down those things first because they kind of go hand in hand. The other thing is community. So you're going to want to narrow it down to a couple of different communities, and you're going to want to know, like, what are their amenities packages? Is it an active community? You'll want to ask whoever's there, the salesperson, say, does the neighborhood have a lot of activities, a lot of planned things, or is this more of a community that people, they're just kind of like on their own and they meet the neighbors and they plan things on their own. So if it's important to you, then you'll want to ask those questions up front. And then also this will help with the build process, because once you narrow down these things, then figuring out the builder and the floor plan and going through the next steps will make it a lot easier versus moving in somewhere or getting into a process and being like, wait, this is not what I thought it was. So try to do these things ahead of time. And on the community piece, the other thing that I always recommend people doing is whoever the salesperson is can't tell you the demographics of a neighborhood. We can't tell you anything that would break laws, obviously. So I know I have a lot of people that come to me and say, oh, were there a ton of kiddos in the neighborhood? Well, I can't tell you that. So what I would recommend you do is drive the neighborhood, and don't just drive it at the exact same time every day. So don't drive through at 4 o'clock every day just to see if you can figure out the neighborhood and if it's somewhere you want to live. I would go in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, drive it, see, are people at the pool? Are people, out grilling? Are they, doing the things that you like to do? Because that's going to give you a better sense of the community than anything that an on-site agent could tell you anyways. So those are the 3 things that I would look for ahead of time before you get into the build process. And next week, I am going to have a video on picking your home site. So I'm going to go over, different lot types, things to look for like rock and peering, and what are those things, so that you can go to the next step. So I hope you guys will tune in next week, and I will see you then.